So Nintendo's big idea of physical games on the Switch 2 has been a total scam. Japan's National Diet Library just straight up refused to preserve them, officially saying that game key cards aren't real physical media. If one of the largest game archives in the world does not recognize these as actual games, then why should you give Nintendo your hard-earned money for them? So let's go ahead and talk about this news breakdown. Here's what happened. Japan's National Diet Library, which is basically the Library of Congress for Japan, has been archiving video games since the year 2000. They keep cartridges, disc, and other physical game releases in proper archival conditions. And right now they have over 9,600 Japanese titles safely preserved. But when they were asked about Nintendo Switch's Switch 2 game key cards, those that we are upset about, we've been making plenty of rants about, the NDL flat out said no. They said their reasoning was that only physical media that contains the actual game counts, guys. Let's repeat that for the people in the back that don't understand. They basically said only physical media that contains the actual game counts. And since these game key cards are basically glorified download licenses, they're being treated exactly like digital-only releases, which, good on them. I'm glad there has been some common sense out there, especially from the Japan Diet. So these games, guys, again, these games that you buy on the key card, they don't make it into the archive. They don't count. They don't even officially exist in the historical record. And we've talked about this plenty of times on the channel. These are physical games that aren't actually physical. And I have a problem with them. A lot of people have a problem with them. And a majority of the Switch 2 quote-unquote physical releases that are out there are these game key cards where you put them in your Switch 2 and you have to download the additional data. It doesn't even contain the full game at all of them. And this is where the problem really hits, guys, because Nintendo keeps trying to spin these things over and over and over again as a cheaper alternative to cartridges. But let's be real, they're not physical games. Okay, they're DRM tokens. Remember that DRM phrase when the Xbox One was coming out and everybody was upset about it? That's what these are. Again, they're not real physical games. They're DRM tokens. Think about it. You don't actually own the game data, okay? It's downloaded from the internet. You don't actually own the game data. It's downloaded from the internet. You still have to insert the game card every time you want to play the game, unlike a true digital purchase. And now we even have preservationists like the NDL that are refusing to recognize them as legitimate physical releases. It's literally the worst of all worlds when it comes to physical games and digital games. It's like they Frankensteined it together into these game key cards. So basically, if you get one of these, what are you paying for? You're paying for a plastic card that tricks you into feeling like you actually bought something physical, while Nintendo is cutting their cost and they're keeping full control. And I've heard people try to justify this. Well, it's something that you could resell, and it's something that you have physical and tangible. You guys are retarded. If you're supporting the game key cards, you guys are retarded 100%. And this is leading to a preservation crisis, guys, because here's where it gets scarier, right? Japan's National Diet Library isn't just some random place. This is the one institution that ensures that Japanese games don't get lost to time. Every physical release since the year 2000 has been collected and archived, and that's how future historians, future collectors, and even normal players will be able to look back at this era of gaming. And guess what? Like we said, Switch 2 card games, the game key card games, won't be there, guys. They'll vanish the second Nintendo shuts down these servers, and that's the reality of it. And again, there's people that are saying, okay, well, some of these game key cards are available on other platforms physically, so it's no big deal. That's fine, but this still proves the fact that these Switch 2 game key cards are not actual, real, physical media. I mean, literally, their version of the Library of Congress is agreeing on it. So while Nintendo is patting themselves on the back for offering a physical option like they're saying, what they're actually doing, guys, is selling us the illusion of ownership, and that's anti-consumer. That's not cool. And once the lights go out on the eShop, poof, your game is gone. Look at all the other eShops before it. They're all shut down. All we have left is the current iteration of the eShop. And this is a collector's nightmare, honestly. And this is where I especially feel bad for collectors. Imagine lining your gaming shelves, right? Like your bookshelves with Switch 2 game key cards, thinking that you're preserving something meaningful, something that you can hang on to for decades from now. But what you're really owning is just a box and a card and nothing else. That's basically what it is. At least with a digital copy, a digital only copy, you know what you're signing up for. And I'm okay with that. You're accepting it because you're getting what you're paying for. With real cartridges, you have something that could survive decades. But this, like I said, it's literally the worst of both worlds. You don't get preservation, you don't get convenience, and now you don't even get recognition from Japan's official library. So Nintendo has basically invented a product that only benefits them. Let's say it again for the people in the back. Nintendo has basically invented a product that only benefits them. Now, could the rules change when it comes to this? I don't know. Some people are pointing out that the NDL recently started archiving digital books and magazines, so maybe they'll expand to digital games later, but that's just speculation at this point. The fact is, right now, your Switch 2 game key card purchases aren't being preserved. And they're disposable products. They're designed to vanish when Nintendo decides they've made enough money. Let's take a look at this tweet from Genki Japan that talks about this situation and saying that Japan's National Diet Library says that games released on Nintendo Switch 2 game key cards will not be eligible for preservation. Only physical media that contains the content itself is considered eligible for preservation. Since a key card on its own does not qualify as content, it falls outside of our scope for collection and preservation. And this is a huge situation here, guys. Bigger than you would even think. I know there's people out there that do support the game key cards. They buy them. They really don't care. This is big. And a lot of people are responding in the reply. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. So you can see people saying it makes sense. Would the Japan law be able to force Nintendo to stop the use and production of game key cards? I don't think they can. But Nintendo will take note of this and be like, yikes, we got to do something. Hopefully. You can see Billy says, from the perspective of physical games, PlayStation's the only one persistent in doing so on a large scale. And then you can see other people saying, are their respective PS5 versions eligible? As of yet, are there any Switch 2 game key cards that aren't available as a physical disc on other platforms? Which, no, that's fair. They're mostly ports that are available on PlayStation or elsewhere, you know, so I guess there's always that. And that again proves my opinion that the Switch 2 is still severely underpowered. It still can't even handle bigger games, bigger AAA titles that are too big for whatever Nintendo is actually offering right now. We have to have these game key cards where you have to download data just to access it. It's literally just a license to access the game. Purple Kisses says, one day they'll all just be landfills, so yeah, makes sense. A game key card without the game on it can't be preserved. Nintendo needs to wake the F up and bring bigger cards at lower costs, which I agree. And according to a rumor recently, Nintendo's manufacturer for these game key cards was actually going to be developing bigger game key cards, so we'll see what happens. But game key cards have always been a mixed reaction, and I'm in the ballpark of they're going to try to replace actual true physical media with these game key cards, and that's not right. Even the Japan National Diet is saying these aren't real physical games. Okay, I would rather have a digital only title than a game key only title, because it's going to be replacing what an actual true physical game is. And people don't believe that. So the question is, do you want to keep supporting this? If you're in the boat of, oh, let me get game key cards, I don't care, you broke boys and all this stuff. I've seen people acting smart alecky towards people on social media. You don't look cool doing that. You just look like an asshole. Okay? Do you want Nintendo to normalize fake physical media that has no archival value, no ownership, and no future? And I've been saying this from the start. If you watch my channel, Switch 2 game key cards are not real games. They're not anything close to an actual full physical release. I have only 3 physical Switch games, and these are the first party games for Mario Kart and Donkey Kong, and then Cyberpunk. These aren't game key cards, and I'll support full game releases on the Switch too, but I'm not buying a game key card at all, okay? They're corporate bait, and now one of the most respected game preservation institutions in the world, the NDL, basically just confirmed it. But I want to hear from you guys. Would you ever buy a Switch 2 game key card game, or is this where you draw the line with Nintendo? Drop a comment down below. I'm going to be reading them all. And if you care about gaming history, collecting, or just not getting scammed by fake physical products, hit that like button, or, you know, if you didn't like this video at all, hit that dislike. And don't forget to subscribe, guys. We're on the road to 95,000 subscribers. This is only the beginning of the Nintendo Switch drama, and we're going to be continuing to call it out. So I'll see you on the next one.